Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, Shalom to the house of David by Aftawadah, the 144,000 and one-third men, women, and children that are part of the elect of the 12 tribes of Israel and the Israelite foreigners scattered in four corners of the earth that is confusion of faces and speak the different tongues that's going to come back to the fold. Basically, real quick sit down. I was watching wrestling because I'm a real big wrestling fan. The old school wrestling, you know what I'm saying? Basically, Donald Trump was in WWE. And Stone Cold Steve Austin threatened Trump. Now in the scriptures, the Lord said he's gonna put a stone cold spirit into the Russians to threaten Trump. You can see right here it says arrive, raise hell, leave. Yeah, and hell is arriving, man. Hell is arriving, man, to America, man. Got thermonuclear wars coming. So the Most High gonna put a stone cold spirit into the Russians, man, to shoot nuclear missiles upon America, man. Destroy this goddamn place, man. We're at the time of that now. Isaiah 13. The viper, man. Which Esau is considered the serpent, the snake. You know? So it's going to be your own brethren, the Russians, on the other eastern hemisphere that's going to shoot missiles over here. Scripture say, if Satan be divided against Satan, how can his kingdom stand? They actually got a missile called SS-18. Satan, they call it. Which will wipe out fucking continents, man, and countries. So most likely gonna put a spirit into the Russians to shoot the nuclear missiles over here, man, and blow America away. Bring hell upon America. Isaiah 13 and 17, then I'm going to the main point. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them that shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. So the Most High is stirring up the Russians, man, Magog and Gog, the Russians. He's putting a stone cold spirit into them. Right? That's why the Russians have a missile called SS-18, Satan. So it's going to be Satan, those Edomites in Russia, that's going to shoot that missile Satan upon Satan, you Edomites over here. Satan shooting Satan on Satan, man. If Satan be divided against his kingdom, how can his kingdom stand? Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces. Talk about the missiles. And they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. So those Russians, they ain't going to care. When the Lord puts that stone cold spirit into them Russians to shoot nuclear missiles over here, ain't no stopping it, man. Ain't gonna be no stopping him. Yeah, we at that time, man. Hell is coming. That's right. This has been our hell, America, man. And hell is gonna be cast into a lake of fire. We just talked about the thermonuclear war. Revelations 20 and 14. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. And that proves they ain't talking about no place where you burn forever. Because this is hell. And this hell, America, this captivity, this slavery, which is hell, is gonna be cast into the lake of fire. Them thermonuclear missiles, man. Revelations 20 and 14, and death and hell were cast into lake of fire. This is the second death. Because when we get, Lord willing, from the chariots, we're going to look down America being destroyed. It's going to look like a lake of fire. Whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. So if you're not written in the book of life, you're going to be cast into that lake of fire. Which we don't want to get, we don't want to get cast into that lake of fire that's coming to America. It's evident, man. See the Russians threatening America, all these other countries, they're banning them, seven Arab countries, Somalia, Yemen, Iraq, Iran, Syria. All those countries, they're going to come together and they're going to come against America, man. And Russia's going to be the head of that, man. Revelations 12, 11, and 14. The second war was past, and behold, the third war cometh quickly. The second war was World War II, 1939 and 1945. Then you had that bombing in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's going to be the same thing now. War means destruction. World War III. Hell is coming to America, man. Hell, America's will be turned to a damn desert. The second war was past, and behold, the third war coming quickly. We're in the midst of World War III. That's the spirit that's in the air, man. That's why when we out there teaching, we're telling our people to get themselves right and telling them the things that's coming, man. Isaiah 54 and 16. Behold, I have created the smiths that blow up the coals in the fire, and that bring forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy, and those nuclear missiles are going to destroy. That's right. And Most High going to talk about hell. Most High going to make America actual hell. It's going to be that fire, man. That's the judgment that this place has been screaming for, man. We're at that time now. Ezekiel 22 and 20. As they gather silver and brass and iron and lead and tin into the midst of the furnace to blow the fire upon it, to melt it. Now the Lord's talking about it like he's a chef. So will I gather you in my anger and my fury, and I will leave you there and melt you. Yea, I will gather you and blow upon you in the wrath fire of my wrath, and ye shall be melted in the midst thereof. As silver is melted in the midst of the furnace, so shall ye be melted in the midst thereof. and ye shall know that I, the Lord, have poured out my fury upon you. Now remember, these atomic bombs, these nuclear missiles are like 10,000 times stronger. 10,000 times stronger than an atomic bomb, man. So you can imagine the destruction that's going to be upon these goddamn places. Ezekiel 24:9. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, woe means destruction to the bloody city, which is America. We spilled the blood of the saints, the black Latino Native Americans, man. That's why this land is cursed, and that's the only way to cleanse it is with fire, man. And I will even make the powerful great fire. Heap on wood, kindle the fire, consume the flesh, and spice it well. Let the bones be burnt. And the bones are gonna burn, man. Everything's gonna burn in America. It's gonna be made a desert from Cali, New York. Then set it upon the coals thereof, that the brass of it be hot, and may burn, and the filthiness of it may be molten in it, that the scum of it may be consumed. She have wearied herself with lies, and her great scum went not forth out of her. Her scum shall be in the fire. Revelations 21:7. And he that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. But the fearful, all you that's fearful, you're scared of going out, you're scared to go out to preach the word, being scary. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake, which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. The first death was what? The cleansing agent with Noah. The cleansing period with Noah. And they showed that movie Resident Evil. Now another cleansing period. This is the second death, which is fire, water, fire. The two major elements, man. Revelations 8 and 7, 9 and 17. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and Jacob and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions. That's the warheads. That's where the power's at, man. The warheads, man. The front. That's the heads of lions. The lion's mouth is what? Is powers his mouth. And out of their mouths issue fire and smoke and brimstone. Talk about those nuclear warheads, man. By these three were the third part of men, talk about Esau, killed by fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths. Talk about the nuclear warheads, man. For their power is in their mouth and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents. When the prophets saw the nuclear missiles, they had a future vision of America being destroyed. They saw the tail, which was the rocket, and they described it as a fiery serpent. For their power is in their mouth and their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And those nuclear missiles are going to hurt America, man. So Most High stirring this Third World War, and the Russians are going to be the ones to attack America, man. According to the scriptures, according to the prophecies, man.
I don't think you and me have been formally introduced yet. My name's Stone Cold Steve Austin, and you're standing in my ring. If you're standing in my ring, what I say goes. Do you understand that? You don't have to answer that because I hope you understand that. That's a good-looking tie you got there. You doing okay? Look a little stiff. Glad to have you here. You know, lately, Donald, I've been seeing you on a little TV show, and the only thing you got to say is telling people you're fired.
Yeah, America's gonna be fired. Nuclear fire.
Something you're not gonna tell Stone Cold Steve Austin he's fired because he don't work for you. He's never gonna work for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think it's only fair that you give a man fair warning. So I'm gonna break it down to you like this. Donald, in this ring, don't get under my skin.
And Donald Trump's gonna get under the skin of the Russians.
Don't rub me the wrong way.
And Donald Trump's gonna rub the Russians the wrong way.
Don't ruffle my feathers.
And eagle-faced Trump is going to ruffle the Russians' feathers.
Basically, long story short, I'm telling you not to piss me off.
And he's going to piss off the Russians.
If you do piss me off, I'll whip your ass. Now look at me when I'm talking to you. Because I've done my research on you. I don't give a rat's ass if you're worth $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion, $4 billion, $5 billion, $6 billion, $7 billion, $8 billion.
Hey, we just brought that out. They ain't gonna regard gold and silver, Isaiah 13. They ain't gonna give a shit about money. They're gonna say, fuck your money. We just read that through the Spirit of the Lord, the Spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Fuck the gold and fuck the silver, man. They're gonna shoot those missiles over here.
You piss me off, I'll open up an $8 billion can of whoop ass and serve it to you, and that's all I got to say about that.